Hi everyone, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. You're currently on my vlog camera being held up by multiple pieces of tape because one of the screws in my camera that holds the screen flipped this way fell out. Yep. Anyways, today I have a book recommendations video. Give me a second. Sorry I'm wearing my work shirt, like we are about to go to work. So yeah, I've always been super into reading ever since I was a little kid. Then there was like a period of time where I stopped kind of reading and everything like that, but I've always loved reading, and now I just read a book a day. So yeah, I'm gonna try my best to remember the summaries of each of these books, but yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Let me know if you want any more book videos, recommendations, hauls, whatever you want. Let's do it. I will start by showing you my recommendations of one of my favorite authors, Lisa Jewell. If you like reading thriller, murder mystery, crime type of books, then you probably know who Lisa Jewell is. So yeah. This is the first book that I read by Lisa Jewell, and I feel like it's a good book, and it's a book that everyone should read. Basically, it's about this mother, and 10 years ago, her daughter disappeared, and then just as the mother's getting her life back together and everything like this, she meets this man, and she meets his daughters, and it reminds her so much of her own daughter, if that makes sense, which is weird. Like, she's never seen anyone that looks exactly like her daughter, and it's especially weird since her daughter disappeared. And then suddenly, just as Laurel Mack, who is the main character of this novel, is starting to get her life back together, suddenly all these pieces are starting to leave her with unanswered questions, and she's starting to question more and more what actually happened to her daughter. And basically she discovers the truth. It's amazing. It's really good. This is like the first book I read by Lisa Jewell. Got me really into it. This is a good book to start off if you want to get into like the true crime and murder mystery thriller type genre. The most recent book I read by Lisa Jewell was called Watching You. It did take me a minute to get into it at the beginning, just because it's not even like it was like bad at the beginning. It just took me kind of a minute to really connect with the characters and get into it. But basically it's about this couple who just recently got married, and they moved in with the girl's brother and his wife. And the wife, the main character, meets their neighbors, and she immediately has this instant attraction to him. Kind of follows her story with him, and then it ties into his story. Something I really love about Lisa Jewell books is the dual timelines. I love that shit. Basically, it's a major thriller. It's a little slow in the beginning, but once you get into it, it's really good. The husband that lives across the street has a lot of secrets that slowly get uncovered due to the wife, who's the main character. I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry if I'm bad at this. I'm sitting in my car editing this video, and I realized like the way I was explaining kind of like the end of it wasn't making sense. But basically, as you're reading this story, something I really liked, like once I started getting to the end, was the plot twist. It's not something when you start the book you're expecting at all, because it focuses so much on like the neighbors across the street and like everything like that. Which, by the way, the neighbors across the street got a lot of issues. Everyone in the book got a lot of issues. I don't know. But the plot twist was really good. It was slow at the beginning, but the ending was amazing. I really liked it. Next, I also recently read Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell, which was so good. It starts off by following this man named Owen Pick, who's in his 30s and he's still a virgin. And it follows him, and he gets accused of kind of sexual misconduct and sexual assault against a few of the girls that he teaches. Across the street from Owen is this couple called Kate and Rowan, and they've always had this weird feeling about Owen, but at the same time, when you're reading the novel, you're gonna have a bad feeling about Rowan, if that makes sense. It's just very suspicious. He's very suspicious. So basically, Rowan is a therapist, and this girl named Safri, I hope I'm saying that right, was his patient, and eventually he let her go, even though she wasn't done with like what they had left. And I don't mean that in like a weird way. I mean like she still wanted him as her therapist. Like, you know, like it's weird leaving that part of you and that routine of you. And he let her go, and then she stalked him and his wife and his family, followed him around everywhere, had all these pictures and videos, and one night she went missing. Things are crazy. I highly recommend this book. The next Lisa Jewell book is The Family Upstairs, and I think this is the last one by her in this video. It's called The Family Upstairs, and it's amazing. Basically, follows a few characters. Like I said, it's dual timelines. So Libby Jones, who grew up super poor, returns home from work and finds out that she is getting this house in her name from her biological parents. She doesn't know what to do. She's never owned anything this big and important. Like, she's suddenly rich overnight, you know what I mean? Little does she know, she knows not anything about her family. But in this book, you'll uncover what went wrong in this house and why, when there was a cult sacrificing, they only found this baby, who turned out to be Libby. She was the only one alive. And then they found the parents in a cult sacrifice suicide. And all of their kids were missing. So, this book was so good. It follows like the haunted house. It gives you like the murder house vibes from American Horror Story. But at the same time, the way she writes in dual timeline literally blows me away every time, and like it'll just start tying in together, and it's so good. Oh my god. The next books that I'm gonna be talking about is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and then the sequel, which is Good Girl Bad Blood. I saw this on TikTok and I was like, okay, whatever. I bought it, read it in a day. It was phenomenal. This is a good read if you want to also start getting into the thriller genre. It's an easy read, but it's super good. It follows this girl named Andy Bell, who decides to start a podcast and follow the investigation of this. Oh, it doesn't follow Andy Bell, I'm so sorry. It follows Pip. Andy Bell is a high schooler who was murdered by her boyfriend Sal, and Pip decides that she doesn't think Sal murdered Andy, and she wants to actually uncover the truth. So she makes a podcast, and she finds out all of the secrets that are hidden within this town, and she finds out what actually happened to Andy Bell and Sal. And then there's also a little bit of romance. This book was crazy, so many twists and turns, and it was so good, and I loved that it was a podcast as well. Like the dialogue, it's super easy to follow along with. And as soon as I finished this, I looked up if there was a sequel or not, and sure enough, the sequel was set to come out 2 days after I finished that book. So obviously I immediately pre-ordered Good Girl Bad Blood, which goes back in, and Pip decides she's not a detective anymore. After this, after figuring out this investigation and everything like that, and everything she uncovered, she almost tore herself apart, her family, everything, her whole life. So, one of her friend's brothers goes missing, and the family is begging Pip to please, please, please help them find him. She's like, I can't do it, I can't do it. Finally, with the help of her boyfriend, they work together to uncover this new disappearance. On the very same night that the town hosted a memorial for the 6-year anniversary deaths of Andy Bell and Sousing. Is that not absurd? So basically it follows all of that, and she figures out everything once again. You'll just become obsessed with the characters, and like the plot and everything is so good. I highly, highly, highly recommend these books. Like I said, it's also a really good little duo to get you started into the thriller genre. A while ago I read this book called The Sea of Lost Girls, and I really loved it. Once again, also it's not too crazy of a, I just never finished my sentence, but it's not too crazy of a plot. Like, once again, it's another read that like I feel like you can start getting yourself into the thriller genre. It's not super crazy, but it's still like a good plot. Basically, it follows this woman and her son Rudy's girlfriend dies. She fell off a cliff, and she gets a text at 2:50 in the morning from her son. My camera's like dead, but I'm gonna try my best to finish. That he needs help. Basically, it follows this mother uncovering everything that happened. Was it her son that did it? Was it her husband that did it? Very good. I really liked this one. Pretty simple read as well. I realized like all of the books that I'm talking about were all so good and like easy to get into and easily just like highly rated. But that's because why would I read books that are bad? Next is The Girl on the Train, which if you like thrillers, you probably already knew about this book. It's pretty old. I remember my mom reading this back in the day. I'll read the back. Rachel catches the same commuter train every morning, and she knows it will wait at the same signal each time, overlooking a row of back gardens. She's even started to feel like she knows the people who live in the houses, Jess and Jason, she calls them. Their life, as happy as it seems, is perfect. If only Rachel could be that happy. Until today, and then she sees something shocking. It's only a minute until the train moves, but it's enough. Now everything changed. Now Rachel has a chance to become a part of lives she's only watched from afar. Now they'll see she's much more than the girl on the train. This shit was so good, dude. Like, at first it was, once again, I think this is dual timeline. Yeah. So at first I was like, what's going on? It's a little slow. But then, bro, so good. Also, sometimes when I say dual timeline, I mean like multiple people. Like sometimes it's like 2 different times or like years, but a lot of the times when I say that, I just mean like 2 perspectives. I think I just don't know like how to say things. Sorry. So good. I highly recommend this. I got this at the thrift store for $3. Yeah. And it's by, sorry, I should be saying the author's name. Paula Hawkins. Last 2 books are by Miss Colleen Hoover, who has suddenly become one of my new favorite authors. I just ordered Ugly Love. I need to bring like 9 books to the beach because I'm gonna read like 1 every day. First book I read by Colleen Hoover was It Ends With Us. Saw this on TikTok. I have a huge list of all of the books that I want to read, and this was on there, and I just knew I needed to read it. I used to read a lot of romance books back in like middle school and stuff like that, but I haven't recently. I'm very much in the thriller genre, but this did tie a little bit of like suspense and thrill into it, which I did enjoy. And I did cry. I did cry, yeah. It follows this girl named Lily, and oh one night she's up on the roof after, I believe, her father died, and she meets this neurosurgeon named Ryle, and they have such an open and honest conversation. And then they have to depart. And she's like, I'm never gonna see him again, ever. Anyways, her dream was to open a flower shop, and she finally did it. And this girl walked in, her name was Alyssa, and she was like, I want to help, you don't even have to pay me. So she hired her as an employee, and little do we know, Alyssa is Ryle's sister. So we quickly find that out. But then, once again, it's also a little dual timeline in the way that it's like she's writing letters. She's reading letters from her past, and it follows this boy named Atlas, who was homeless at the time that she was a teenager. And basically it follows that and how she learned to fall in love with Atlas, and he was her first love. I'm just gonna leave it at that, but basically I highly recommend this. So good. If you need a good cry, it's definitely amazing. Yeah. Last book and my most recent read, which I read in one sitting, I read a lot of these books in one sitting, is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Holy shit. This book had me up, dude. Like, it was so good. Basically, it follows this woman named Lowen, and she's a struggling writer, and she's struggling financially as well, obviously, since that is her job, and she's a struggling writer, like, obviously. Her mother died previously, like a week ago when this book started, and then she lives in New York City, and she was out walking on the street when she witnessed a man, like, get murdered by a car. And she meets this man named Jeremy, and he gives her like her shirt, and because she had like blood all over her and everything like that. And little does she know, they're both headed to the same meeting that day, because Jeremy is actually the husband of this super famous writer named Verity Crawford. And Verity has hired Lowen to complete and finish the rest of her book series, because she had a tragic accident. Lowen then stays at the Crawford home to look through the office, start writing the book, and some crazy shit starts happening. Not only does she start falling for Jeremy, but the shit she uncovers about Verity is absurd. Basically, I highly recommend this. It's chaotic. It's so... just read it. You have to read it. It's one of those books that you need to read at some point in your life. Please. So yeah, those are my book recommendations. Any and all of them I highly recommend. They're all so good. Hello, I completely never did an outro for this video. I'm on my phone right now. But sorry this video is so long. And sorry I haven't posted in like literally months. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I plan to do more book videos in the future, so let me know if that's something you're interested in. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Deuces.